The 100-Year War has been raging on and the British army has been looting and pillaging the French countryside. However, as the supplies run lower and lower, the English have found themselves cornered upon a hill as the French are preparing to descend upon them, wiping the invaders from their homelands. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fisher. Welcome back to some more Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD, and we are diving right back in with another glorious battle. Big shout out to the guys who sent this battle in to me. I always love historical battles, or not historical battles, but historical themed battles, and especially scenario battles like this. It's really awesome. So yeah, massive thank you to the guys who sent this one in to me. As I said, this is obviously going to be a scenario battle with 100 Years War. We have the English who have fortified this hill, preparing to send back the invaders, or I guess they are the invaders, and then we have the French who are pushing on their position, ready to hopefully send back the invaders. That time it does work indeed. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a really exciting battle. Lots of large armies. This is a 3 versus 3. We have over 14,000 soldiers on the battlefield, almost 15,000 soldiers, so it should hopefully be absolutely crazy. Take a quick look at the English forces. We'll just kind of run down the positions on their front line. We do have some English knights. Obviously this cavalry is not going to be super effective on the hill, so that's why it's positioned itself outside, and then obviously they can roam around and engage the French forces willy-nilly. There's also an English cavalry unit right here as well, making a pretty daring move. This unit of mounted sergeants who are basically a scouting unit is going to find themselves in an absolutely horrible position as the French knights just smash into them, and these guys are, yeah, the forlorn hope for sure. They are not going to last much longer. Taking a look at the rest of the English forces, though, we have some heavy billmen guarding the flank next to the red line to keep themselves nice and protected. We do have some Pavese spearmen of the high period, so this is the latest period. These guys are going to be able to again form a nice little shield, will protect themselves from missiles, and basically be very impenetrable from the front. I mean, obviously the French forces are going to be looking to probably break the English back if I was them, as we have a ton more of these spearmen scattered throughout. Yeah, you can see basically the entire spear line is looking pretty goddamn scary right there. If we just zoom in like so, you guys can really see just the sheer strength of this spear wall. It's not something that's going to be broken very easily, that is for sure. So then if we go back, we'll take a look at the kind of the second line. We do have some sergeants back here, some English foot knights, who again are going to be able to do that bit more of the heavier hitting prowess. We have some archers set up here. We have a set of trebuchets. Again, obviously artillery historically was never used against infantry or on the battlefield, but you know, you see them, it always looks cool in game. We have some more, obviously the English general bodyguard back there and a bunch of swords. However, we are seeing the British cavalry being sent out to harass the enemy, and I wanted to not miss this. That's why I kind of glanced over the end of it. So let's jump on board and see where these English knights do go. If they're going to go after the French archers, or if they're going to kind of just try and skirmish and harass the French as they move further and further forward towards the English position, as the French, obviously, as we can see, are moving closer and closer. So I'll keep a close eye on the battlefield up there. But if we take a look at some of the French forces, they've already dispatched the English mounted sergeants without really any casualties. Literally 0 casualties, which is not too bad. So we have 5 units of these French chevaliers in the forest. These guys can be mounted up and basically just kind of holding their line, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them being sent against the English knights on the field. But that's kind of what the English want. The English want to try and minimize that cavalry effectiveness, because if that cavalry gets round the back here and can get into the English line, it is not going to be good whatsoever. So yeah, this English harassment is kind of just almost throwing their cavalry away, because they know they have the infantry advantage on that hill, on that, you know, forested area. They're going to kind of win that. So that's why I think the English are being as crazy as they are with their cavalry. On their front line, though, the French do have some archers, just basic tier archers. Also have some of these other spearmen as well. These guys, again, a little bit of a lighter spearman compared to the English, but the archers are now going out, going to try and pick off a few horses here and there, or at least start to reduce them down. And we also have some more cavalry come flying out here, and there we go, smashing into the English line. And I would imagine this would really benefit the French chevaliers. They will be doing way better. Yeah, already taken off a ton of these, and now the cavalry is on the run. Kind of surprising that they got caught up here. I mean, I assume the English wanted this fight because they knew the French cavalry was in that forest, but they just came flying out, throwing them back. Over on the other side as well, we have so much French cavalry here, just smashing into the British. And in that wedge formation as well, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of kills going off. The French lost 2 horses on that charge, but smashed into the British line, and yeah, the British lost way more than that. That wedge formation really paying dividends, and so far the rest of the cavalry just comes flying around. Really nice moves here by the French, and one of the great things as well about taking this engagement so close to the battle line is the fact that they can now supply with some infantry, but the English knights have been whipped away. They literally stand no chance here whatsoever with all the cavalry. But again, this is obviously what the French have spent a lot of their money in, whereas the British have a lot of, you know, support in them spears, in that artillery. So even though the English have kind of wasted their cavalry, they've still got 4 units here. 2 are depleted, but still strong. And obviously on this side as well, they're going to be falling back. Even though they did throw away a lot of their cavalry, they still have the strength in the spearmen and the swordsmen, and it was kind of always, you know, kind of fun. Obviously, tactically, it's probably better to kind of leave all your cavalry like here and just kind of wait for the opportunity to push out. But it was still a kind of a fun move to kind of scout away at the enemy, try and pick at their heels, maybe try and get a charge off on these archers. Unfortunately, not able to do that. So what I'll do now, guys, is I'll skip ahead until the French army is a little bit closer to the British, because obviously there's a long way to go, and unless there's any other cavalry engagements, I'll just go ahead and skip it forward. Okay, the English artillery is now starting to open up on the advancing French forces. We have the cannons firing in. Not going to be doing a ton of damage, but if they can strike in and maybe just hit a few of these guys. I mean, so far they've actually killed a handful of these French archers, and killing the archers is a pretty good idea, as that will really dramatically remove the amount of firepower that the French do have. However, we're not really going to be doing too much damage against the English front line anyway. That's going to be their real kind of cracking point, and I think obviously this is going to be the weak point for the English, and I assume the French have already seen that, as they are sending 2 armies around to obviously engage this side, and then obviously also kind of threaten the back end with that yellow army moving in, whereas they've just kind of left 1 army stuck right here. I mean, realistically, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea to like take this entire force and just like charge it out of this 1 army as the French get over and over. But so far the artillery is bombarding. The trebuchets have now got into a position, so I imagine they will be unleashing a handful of rocks at the enemy. See, these bad boys are loading, and this is obviously also all custom animations as well, which is pretty cool that we are seeing from the trebuchets. So they're going to be firing off on the enemy position. I think actually maybe they just loaded up. They're going to be firing off on the enemy position as soon as they come into range. I think that's probably why the enemy are holding firm as the artillery continues. Yeah, they're literally just inside of the range, and that's why the bombards are opening up. If they can get any good shots off into the spearmen, that's going to obviously be the real money maker, and obviously the heavier French knights as well. So yeah, let's just continue to stick on triple speed, let the enemy advance. They always seem to get their breath back before advancing, and they're just really, like, obviously just kind of waiting for everyone to get into position, get rested up. You don't want to move in with tired units, as you're going to be fighting a lot less effectively. And all this cavalry that we're seeing kind of mounted up on this right flank or this left flank for the French, that's going to be really pounding in, and that's going to hurt so much. The English do obviously have some soldiers back there, and we probably can't see all the men they have in the forest. Yeah, they have a pretty well defensive line back there, and they're bringing back some more of their reserves as well as transitioning some more spearmen and some archers over there. But yeah, even still, there you go. The trebuchets are now unloading as the forces get closer and closer. The Python grip has now found its position, and now they are going to begin to start strangling. We do have some infantry on the front lines. This is like the Fall on Hope here. Charge forward, maces, swords, and warhammers, as well as axes. These guys are going to be pushing forward under heavy fire from the trebuchets, looking just to kind of start fighting their way up that hill and get into position. We are also seeing the English cavalry again pushed up, just to kind of, I guess, scare off the enemy archers as the artillery is just coming in. But yeah, the main assault has now really arrived. And you can see some of the British foot knights over here. This is not a good position for the foot knights. If the foot knights take a front-on charge by the French cavalry, they will get decimated. The foot knights are not there to withstand the charge from heavy knights. And you can see all of the French knights are moving over here now as well. A lot of the archers are set up here as well. The English longbows should be able to start picking away at the enemy. Yeah, we do have longbows of the high period, so I imagine they will be getting into range momentarily for the English longbow to start doing its famous job, sticking up them 2 fingers at the enemy French knights. As the French get closer and closer. Luckily, they do have that woodland area, though, right there, that they can obviously seek for cover. A bit less missile resistance there as well. But yeah, the French knights are just going to come flying in, and the swordsmen are not going to get here in time. You can see these French knights are obviously immediately going for the foot knights, and the foot knights are going to countercharge, which is just a death sentence. Look at that coming in. Luckily, though, they do have some English knights ready to push in. One of the English generals moving in. And this is one of the better ways to deal with cavalry. Let them charge into your unit and then countercharge them with your own. That's how you're going to deal with them. Then foot knights are going to take no casualties? Really? I thought it was suicide to take a charge from knights. I guess they were only mounted sergeants, but still. Them foot knights did not take as much damage as I necessarily thought they would, as the rest of the French cavalry has descended upon this battle line. We'll get a nice little bird's eye view so you guys can see everything. But yeah, that French cavalry came into the English sergeants and really did a number on them, breaking 2 units as the rest of the English cavalry moves around. But they have to be careful not to engage the French outside of their bubble. This bubble is obviously going to be where they're really going to be taking the damage. We do have some more of the French archers moving closer and closer, obviously looking to get into position as the artillery now rains in upon them, killing so many of these spearmen. These poor Bavese are burning alive. That is not good whatsoever. More and more French soldiers are moving, and we have some English cavalry being sent out here again, just trying to skirmish and pick away any cavalry that they can, or any archers that they can. It does seem like they're going to get a good charge off into this archer unit. And we have to kill a handful of them. However, more infantry is now coming in. But you're seeing a lot of this cavalry now getting pinned down by the infantry and dying. More infantry has now fully engaged over on the rear side as the cavalry continues to hammer and anvil. Lots of infantry now being thrown into the fight. And this is an all-out brawl now. Both sides will be committing everything they have to this fight. Looking just to break away the enemy positions. Find gaps in their defensive lines and push forward. We also have some of the Volgare de Comenes. I don't know how you pronounce that, but these guys are going to be able to do some really good work against the sergeants, keeping them at range. Obviously, that billhook, very effective unit for them, and they have a handful of them units. The Bavese are holding firm, and the Bavese are also supported by the English foot knights as well, who are going to be fighting out from the defensive area of them shield, which are going to be keeping them pretty well protected as well, as more of the spears now do form a tight little shield wall. However, the French dismounted knights are going to be able to really carve away at the Bavese shield and make them pay for setting up a defensive formation. The French also are going to be finally reinforcing with the rest of their battle line. The artillery continuing to come in and bombard the enemy front line. Unfortunately, not many of these all finding their targets. Yeah, so really unfortunate. That one does though and kills a handful of these Pieton levies, who are actually pretty close to routing right now as well, just onto the sheer amount of fire. Look at all that archer fire just going flying into the battlefield. Obviously, the English longbow is going to be working overtime, trying to kill as many of these guys as possible, but they are also under a lot of pressure as well, as the English continue to fire volley after volley. The French knights, though, are circling. You can see them off in the distance, moving around, looking for a gap that they can exploit, as another volley comes in after another one. The English longbows are going to be returning that volley back at the enemy, but sooner rather than later, the English are going to be starting to dwindle, just the sheer amount of missile fire, and the use of these halberds are really effective. With the foot knights coming in, the big old engagement though is definitely over here, as the French knights are fighting for their lives, trying to break the British defensive formation. And there we go, one of the heavy billmen for the British have now been taken care of, and that's going to slowly start to open up a bit of a gap. If they can reinforce this section, they can break through and exploit this. The rest of the British line, most sergeants of a high period, are no match for the French knights whatsoever. The French are breaking through this with the support of their cavalry, with the support of their missile fire. And as the British defensive line rips apart, the French are going to have to exploit it. And it does look like they are doing a good job of it. I mean, like, who? You can't tell. This is a battle right here. How can you tell who the hell is who in this engagement? I mean, you can see a few French flags, but my God, this is just an absolute manic battle for sure. Again, you are starting to see the French line, the English line breaking across the front line, actually, and the French are continuing to push more men through here, bringing their cavalry through. There's only a unit of archers left there. The French cavalry is now broken into the British defensive line and smashing onto the English longbows now. I really feel like the English longbows were not able to really be brought to bear in this battle, unfortunately. The artillery is coming in, but soon enough, the French knights are going to be all over that artillery, and there is really nothing left in reserve. Over on the right hand, even on the right hand side there, they're kind of struggling. The French army is, yeah, definitely holding the line down on this side, but everywhere else, you can see all the French cavalry now immediately moving around. We do have one of the English knights, though. Actually, this is the English general. This is Edward III, Edward the Black Prince, who is fighting for his men. And obviously, he looks amazing with his armor on and all his units. However, he is scattered, pinned down by these spears. And they're not letting him go down without a fight. Again, a lot of the English knights here as well are fully stuck in here. They're winning the day, but now the French knights can now wrap around. And you can see they're just going to be circling. They've cleared out the entire inner layer and now going to be pushing in and just, yeah, really hitting into the back of these Pavese. We've got a charge going off right here. I mean, if they can hit and look at that damage, they literally penetrate that formation 4 or 5 ranks deep. And that's going to be catastrophic for the British morale. The infantry as well is exploiting this gap that's been spawned. The rest of the English knights have been surrounded. They're fighting admirably. They are sending these French warriors way, way back. But it's just not enough. There's just too many French at this point. The British have, however, broken out here and are able to do some serious damage. But again, with all their extra reinforcements, they're going to be hard pressed to really win this. And with more of the cavalry coming in as well. And there you go. One of the British generals or English generals have now killed. I think that is Edward, who has been slain. We do also have another general's bodyguard right here being pinned down by all the Pavese. We do have the French general there, Royal de France, right there. We have another one here. We're going to chasing down a lot of these longbowmen. But I think, yeah, the French are going to claim this one for sure at this point in the battle. Only 2.5 minutes left. All they needed was one break point in the English formation. And it was a nice setup as well at the beginning of the battle. They basically combined all their forces, brought them to the left flank, and kind of put one of their smaller forces to engage the front line. Kind of a very Sun Tzu-esque tactic. Split your forces and combine your forces in some areas to crush the enemy. You know, this line has lost right here, but they held the line, and then their superior forces went way around here and just fully, like, really put the pressure on the English, and you saw that big break there. The English couldn't stop it, and then all the enemy forces came flying through. And even on the side, they're supposedly supposed to be winning. Even then, the French knights are cutting down my fellow English kin. A black day indeed. But a glorious one. Let's just watch for. There's only a minute left of this battle. But let's just watch some of the awesome animations, some of the great fighting of the medieval warriors. And the French are definitely a scary faction. Unfortunately, the French in the campaign are pretty boned most of the time, because they just stand no chance against the HRE, the English, the Spanish. They start off with a -20 public order. Diplomatic bonus of everybody. So they generally get wiped off. And it could make for a fun campaign to maybe play a French campaign on Legendary and just see how difficult it actually is. Maybe that is something we'll have to do at some point to really test our mettle and prepared to go full grind mode. If we zoom out now, we can probably see the rest of, the English force has basically been completely diminished. And I can't believe how efficiently the French, as soon as they broke that line, just dispatched the English forces. I mean, again, they did take heavy casualties. They are down to 3,000 men. They've lost way over half of their army. So it's not like the English didn't make them pay, but as soon as that breach point happened, the French cavalry just decimated them. And yeah, I mean, I guess what really lost the battle was like these initial cavalry engagements, which were very cool to watch, but I guess were pretty needless. Because obviously if they had more of a cavalry back here, they could have, stockpiled it like right here and then just kind of countercharged the enemy horse as they came in, or maybe pushed down the hill at them. It was a close victory. The French do win. As I said, they did take a lot of casualties. This French army losing way over half. This one losing, all the French armies lost over half besides this one, which moved around the back. The English, though, getting decimated, unfortunately not able to repel the enemy. Look how many kills these trebuchets got. That's juicy. 250 kills, 181 on this one. They probably ended up paying for themselves, which is nice. How many kills did the Bombard get as well? Only 90, but they were shooting shooting loose formation archers, so that's probably one of the reasons why this French army as well really racking up a lot of kills. 200 kills on both of these, 200 kills on the billman. Not too bad. The other French armies as well doing pretty good. The archers pretty useless, but yeah, this cavalry, 400 kills, 400 kills, 300 kills, 300 kills on the French general there as well. Absolutely devastating. And yeah, on the English side of things, we do have the longbowmen doing okay, I guess. I guess they're pretty expensive as well, so just really not worth it. But yeah, still very, very close battle in the end, but the French able to pull this out by about 3,000 men, so not bad whatsoever. Massive shout out to the guys who played in this battle. I really, really do appreciate it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you want to see more 12-12 on the channel, make sure you drop a like and a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.